Buenas tardes y bienvenido a Intangify. Welcome to Intangify, where we discuss the intangible aspects of business. My name is Matthew Asdell. I'm your host, and I'm an intellectual property attorney. But here on this podcast, we discuss not only intellectual property issues, but really all intangible aspects of business in all of their different forms. My guest today is Tannia Ospina. Tannia is a Latinx entrepreneur and an attorney as well. And Tannia, would love to talk to you a little bit. Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Buenas tardes. Me llamo Tannia Ospina. My name is Tannia Ospina, and I'm an attorney. I'm an online business owner. I'm a mompreneur. I met Matthew not too long ago, and I'm so excited to be here. Do you want me to start with my career, or?
Yeah, I'm going to have you tell our guests, tell our audience a little bit about your background. But I think I neglected to say that, in keeping with our Spanish introductions, we're talking today about Latinx entrepreneurship. And Tannia, you're in a sense a model of Latinx entrepreneurship, but also really talking to people who are interested in or already are entrepreneurs and would qualify as under the Latinx category. So can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I am a second generation American. My parents were immigrants. I am fluent in Spanish. So I 100% speak Spanish. I'm very proud of that. I started my career in human resources at NBC Universal. I left to go to law school. I got married. I started having kids. I was an attorney as a new mom, and I started my career in criminal defense. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to start up an online business. We'll see how it goes. And then it got just really big and beyond what I thought it would be. Thankfully. So as an online business owner, we've reached over $2 million in sales for my online business. And, I still practice law as well, but, I recently switched over to intellectual property. And I really found that this is what I love. This is what I want to retire doing. This is what I just want to really just be an expert and be your go-to Latinx IP attorney. So here I am today on Intangify. And what else can I say about Latinx entrepreneurship? I think, we're great people to work with. We're great people to hire. We're great people with so many different resources and just, I think a just different perspective on, society, in business too. And culture too, right? We've spoken a little bit about like our culture and just being like culturally aware of different things, not only for the Latinx, Latina culture, but just different cultures in general. So, I think, I really love being a Latinx entrepreneur.
So we'll talk a little bit more about Latinx entrepreneurship, of course, but I would love to understand, what is your online business?
So it's an online brand, Belt Threads, for little girls. And it's really an online brand that celebrates little girls, their birthdays, and this sort of, experience of being a first-time mom, having children, and just wanting to really do special things for your children, vacations, birthday parties, photo shoots. And we've grown really exponentially online and through social media. So all of our traffic is organic traffic and user-generated content, which is really awesome. And I've been doing this for a while, but and my friends were always like, what are you doing? My attorney friends, and they were like, kind of like, why are you doing this? My parents, of course, immigrant parents, they want, like, their dream in life is for their daughter or son to become an attorney, to become a doctor. So once I told them I was going to do this online business, they were heartbroken, right? They were like, why? Why? So it was definitely a difficult path and people didn't understand it. And I think, my mentors in the legal field, they were quite not sure. I mean, recently when I told them, now I'm practicing IP and I launched my own law firm, they're so happy. Every time they're like, welcome back to the legal world. And they're so happy and excited for me. And I'm like, oh, thanks. So they're kind of like celebrating my, re-entering the legal market. And even when I would talk to them, they'd be like, are you sure you're okay with that online business? Don't you want to be a practicing attorney? I know this firm that's hiring, and I'd be like, no, I'm really okay. I'm really okay. It's funny, but, my path has been sort of uncommon, I would say, and people didn't really understand it, but I understood it. And now, and sometimes I will say that I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is so difficult. Being an entrepreneur is so difficult. I really, didn't know a lot of it, but now I know so much that I really have a good handle. And I was like, oh yeah, of course I can launch my own law firm and have multiple businesses. Men do this all the time. I have mentors that have like 10 different businesses. Why can't I? So, yeah.
So do you still you were doing the online business?
Yes.
Simultaneously while you're practicing law and while you're being a mom and you're doing all that stuff at once. That's how it works.
Yes. Then I'm also a cheer coach, baseball mom, basketball mom. I do miss some games. So I am doing it simultaneously. I do have employees that help me, and I do a lot of outsourcing. So I hire people on Fiverr, on Upwork. I do a lot of collaboration. So, I work with different photographers that supplies content and a lot of user generated content too. So it's not like I'm doing everything. I'm not a solopreneur for the online business. I'm the solopreneur for the law firm, but not for the online business.
So where do I find the online business?
It's online. We're all over social media, but our website is www.bellthreads, BELLE threads.com.
Okay. That shows a little bit of your appreciation of the French in that name. See?
Yes. Yes.
So was this inspired by having children? Or was it, when you had a child, you kind of said, oh, there isn't really a good service out there to cater to the needs of parents, or was it something else that sort of got you into this idea of launching an online business?
I think this was before COVID, before this whole flexible work arrangements, before this hybrid work model, and when I had my second child, which was a daughter at that point, I was visiting jails and, I didn't put my kids in daycare at that point. So, trying to find a babysitter and just juggling that, finding a new babysitter, putting them in daycare. And it just became very like, I think I wanted that whole, work life, work from home 3 days back when that wasn't a thing. And that wasn't really what, attorneys were doing or understood. So it was part of that, and then my husband worked in the city long hours. So, 7 to 8, and, it was more of like, how are we going to have all these children? Now I have 3 kids, right? And have a flexible work arrangement, or, either I had to hire a nanny completely and never see them, or, work part-time, work around different schedules. So that's what I chose to do. And so I said, it was more of like an idea, honestly. It was more of an idea because I wanted to stay busy. I do love making money. I do love it. I love sales. I love that aspect. My whole family, they're all entrepreneurs. So I think that's in me. And I remember one of my law school professors, he was like, you're just going to be like an amazing litigator. You're going to have like your own law firm. You're going to be great. And I was like, I don't want to have my whole law firm. I just want to work for someone. My whole plan was to go, become an employment attorney. And, it was more of that. It was an idea. I wanted flexibility in my work schedule. And, it grew into something I was like, oh, I'll just it was more of like a side hustle, a side hustle that just became this really big business. There was that. And then also, of course, having daughters and just loving to celebrate them and make them feel special. And I feel like, I have a son and then 2 daughters, and I just love making my kids feel special and really, kind of seeing the best in them.
So was it the experience as a brand owner and the business that kind of drove you away from the idea of doing employment law or criminal defense work, but coming back to the legal profession and doing intellectual property?
I think I really thought being an online brand owner was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, this is cool. I can make up my own hours. This business is really going to be as big as I want it to be. The more I work, the more I learn, the more I invest in it, it's going to be bigger. And I really love that. It's sort of like having another baby, it's having another child and seeing it grow. So I think I just fell in love with that. And then meeting all these different people. And honestly, that's how I got back into law too, where people would find out my story and be like, wow, you're an attorney. Can you do a contract for me? Do you know about this? Do you know someone that knows about this? I mean, I meet, so I network a lot, and I have a lot of different groups that I belong to, the mommy groups, the lawyer groups, the business people group, my town groups, so it's all these different groups that I would meet people. They'd be like, oh, wow, people are always looking for lawyer referrals. I still think that people are sort of intimidated by lawyers. They feel like there's something, they don't want to just cold call someone. They really want someone to be like, oh, you know what? Call Matthew Asbell. He'll take care of you. He's great, so I think that really means something for people. And, yeah.
So you were really driven back to it by the contacts that you were making. That's really why you decided to come back to law. Well, why intellectual property law?
Yes. So I knew I didn't want to go to criminal defense, and I dabbled in other things, family law. I did dabble in other things. And honestly, there's been other opportunities, immigration law, all these different, but intellectual property, I started, handling my own intellectual property, the model releases, the contracts with photographers, all of that stuff. And then also protecting my brand, right? Filing the trademarks. So once I started doing that, I really was like, wow, I could do this, and I love to do this. And I understand this, so well. I understand business owners so well because they're my friend. They're people that I work with. So it just really came natural. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I was meant to do all along. Why didn't I realize this 10 years ago? But I think my journey had to be like this. I wouldn't have done all the cool things I've done and all the experiences I've had with my kids and with the online business, which has been really cool too. So, so now I'm playing catch up, right? Now I'm just like, how do I become Matthew Asbell?
Become me.
Become Matthew Asbell in intellectual property. But, I'm doing okay. And then I found a mentor, right? And then I found the mentor, which has been so helpful. So it's been,
I listening to your story, I think it's very much like how, you were inspired and driven to do this project, which became a business that's been flourishing. And then the relationships you built as a function of that have kind of brought you back to law, but in a different way, because you enjoyed so much the stuff that you learned and were doing for yourself. And I think that makes you really interesting, to your clients, because you become someone who's very relatable. Like they can understand when they're hiring you, you're not just this random person who does law, but rather you understand what they're going through and what their needs really are because you went through it. So they can appreciate, like, okay, she's not just billing me by the hour or whatever it is, but rather, oh yeah, she gets what I'm trying to do, and she's going to be able to to help me through it and help me navigate. So we're gonna go to a break now, but when we come back, I actually want to talk a little bit more about that relatability aspect and tie that into the world of Latinx entrepreneurship in particular. So you're listening to Intangify on talkradio.nyc, and we'll be back shortly.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Welcome back to Intangify on talkradio.nyc. I'm your host, Matthew Asbell. My guest is Tannia Ospina, a mompreneur and attorney who is, operating her own online business and also her own practice, and recently moved into intellectual property law, really as a result of her own experiences and her own contacts. But our topic today is really about Latinx entrepreneurship. And Tannia, of course, is the model. One of the things we were talking about just before the break was being relatable. And when your clients know that you've gone through what they're going through, how they can appreciate you and your ability to help them. So Tannia, I want to ask you really how that ties into the whole Latinx market. I mean, are your clientele primarily Latinx people, Latinx entrepreneurs, or is that the market that you're trying to serve?
So right now, honestly, that's the market I'm trying to serve, but most of my clientele so far they're mompreneurs, they're business owners, and then also just people that have found me through social media. So, and then they're all different, men too, of course, but mostly mompreneurs, and then just people that found me online.
Okay. Well, I think, you and I have had a discussion a while back about sort of the dimensionality of our lives, right? I mean, we're all so many things, right? You're a cheer coach, you're a mom, you're an entrepreneur, you're an attorney, and different aspects of who you are can be relatable to different people, right? So So one thing is, okay, you're Latina. That's good. That's helpful. And some people will be driven to because of that aspect, but others might be that, because you're a mom. They're also mompreneurs, that sort of issue. But thinking back about, the Latinx market, I think, sort of the focus on that market, the desire to serve that market. I'd love to know where that comes from, apart from, hey, that's my background. Is there more to it than that?
Definitely. It's sort of what, I think why I even wanted to become an attorney. I think that it's still an underrepresented community. We're still underrepresented in the legal field, in the entrepreneur world, in professional higher degrees. So I think that if there's any way that I can help a Latino, I should say that Latinx, Latin a member, I really have done what I wanted to do. And if I can help them create generational wealth, if I can help them create their own business, I have, in a way, given back to, my ancestors, the people that worked so hard to get here to the United States and that have contributed so much to our country. I think it's part of like a bigger goal and something that's really close to my heart. And I want to see that. I want to see more Latinx entrepreneurs, because I feel like that's the way we're going to create generational wealth. I want, if that's what they want, I want them to own a home, to own a vacation home, if that's what they want, right? I want them to have more flexibility with their children, right? To really get to be able to encourage that inner child, that child to really flourish and bloom. I would love that for my community. So, in a way and then also that it's someone that is just like them, that they can relate to. Like, we listen to the same music, we eat the same food, we speak the same way in Spanish. So, we've visited Latino countries, so it's, I just would love to see that. I would love to see that. We've, and then also have them have the experiences that I've had, to travel, a little bit more through Europe, and not just go back to Colombia or Ecuador, the country that their family's from, to really just gain a larger perspective in the world. I think that's so important for our community. So
a bunch of things you said relate to some aspects I wanted to get to. Like one thing in particular, while we're talking about relatability, there is an element of people's perception of an attorney, and sometimes it's a negative perception, or it's a status related perception that they can't approach you because you're, this learned attorney who does so much. And, I think, you do things to try to counter that view. Is there something you'd say in response to that? What do you do about the fact that people perceive attorneys generally, and maybe even you, as inaccessible because of your education?
I really, I think I'm pretty friendly and I'm pretty approachable. So I think that's definitely helped me. But I'm also, I try to not to always speak like an attorney, right? And I have this, I do wear suits. I love wearing suits, but I think I just try to be relatable and try to connect with people. I think I'm a pretty great connector, and I really connect with people in any way that we can connect. Even if it's from our hometown, I'm like, oh, I'm from Hackensack too, and I find a way to connect with people so they feel like, oh, it's not just, this lawyer that's trying to take all my money, and just wants to bill me forever and ever and ever. It's someone that's really looking out for my best interest. They connect with me somehow, and now they like me a little bit, right? They like me a little bit. And then they're, even if they don't end up hiring me, they might mention me to someone else. And that's important for me.
Yeah, I have pretty similar experiences. I mean, in my own world, but a part of the population that I serve involves, businesses in other countries and law firms in other countries when they need help in the United States because their businesses are expanding into the United States. And one of the things that I do there, it's right to your point in terms of how to help them to feel like they have a friend who's there to help them in New York and not just someone who's gouging them for money. And the way that I do that is I connect with them on WhatsApp, and I actually and I respond to them. We communicate. Our legal communications detailed are not on WhatsApp, but when there's a question or a concern or somebody wants to make sure that something's handled in a particular time, we use that as a tool. And for me, it's a tool to convey that I'm here to help them. I'm their friend. I'm not I'm not solely trying to get whatever I can get from them and sort of be viewed as the New York attorney, because that often is the case. So I definitely get that, right, in terms of being, helping people to realize that you're accessible. But the other thing you told me in preparation for today really had to do with expectations of the community, and that that your parents were, I think you said your parents were immigrants.
Yes.
So you're the first lawyer in your family?
Yes, we have a really big family, and I'm the only attorney in my family. And I'm the first person in my family to actually graduate from a university in the United States. So I was, totally clueless applying to U.S. colleges, and and my parents definitely were like, stay close to us. They didn't even want me to go to college in New York City. Yeah, so I went to Rutgers or Brunswick. And of course, me, I'm just like, why? I'm like, I hope my kids go to California. I hope they really just look beyond, New Jersey. But I think it was my experience. It was my experience as a second generation American born here, but to immigrant parents, to want to stay close to home and being kind of weary of, taking those huge steps, right? Which to some kids now, they're like, I only want to go to school outside of state. So I hope my kids do that, even though I feel like my son is probably going to stay in New Jersey, close to me.
There's cultural aspects of that are interesting. I mean, as I'm married to a Brazilian, and the concepts of life in the United States and life in Brazil are extremely different. The concept of family and togetherness, and the way like all of the cousins would get together and do stuff in Brazil, whereas like I talk to cousins maybe once a year in a funeral or a bar mitzvah or something like that. And then the work, the way in which work is a part of your life. Like here, work is so much a priority. People say that we work to live, that we live to work, right?
We live to work. Yes.
Yeah, and it's so different in other countries, right? And work is, even when you meet somebody, you don't ask them what they do for a living as the first question.
Yes.
So those types of cultural differences can really impact, an immigrant coming in here, because you kind of have this perspective of family, keep them close, not send them up to be independent. Where at the same time here, like all the parents that are, families that are not immigrant families here are all like, oh no, go off overnight. Be gone with you. We want to get rid of you as soon as possible. It's a struggle, right?
Yeah, it is. I know. I my kids didn't have play dates. I don't know if that's the being raised by immigrant parents, but they didn't have play dates until they were like 9. Like play dates, like me not being there, so I don't know if that was just me or her being
keep them close.
Yeah, I still think keep them close, but also just prepare them to fly as well, and that's important. And also, they're also Latinos. They also speak Spanish. They're fluent. So I think it's important for them too to realize that, hey, you came from, your ancestors are Latinos. Hold on to that. Be proud of your culture. But also just realize that you are going to I'm trying to prepare you to, do well in life and really, find out who you are and what you want to do. And I think for me, I always knew I wanted to be an attorney. I just wish I would have found intellectual property sooner. And, but now that I speak to people tell me all the time, it's so hard to get into. And, I'm like, really? This was really easy. This was really easy. I actually have a friend that apparently she was a partner at a law firm and her dream was to be an IP attorney. And I mean, now she's at the FBI, so she's fine, right? But she found it so hard to get into IP. And did, defense work for like pharmaceuticals, and she couldn't get out of that. So I just feel very blessed and happy. And I'm like, wow, there should definitely be more Latinx and just female or male attorneys in IP, especially because, there's so many statistics. I'm not sure of the numbers, but Latinos are creating a lot of businesses. They are going into the fields of entrepreneurship, especially with all the content creation, all the social media, I guess, driven businesses. It's just very natural to us, I think.
So we're going to go to a break. When we come back, I think I want to bring that back into the discussion. Really, the aspects of Latinx people in the workforce and sort of the inclusiveness and retention, sort of things along those lines. And then, but also, the mentorship for the community, the connection with each other and support that you offer each other, which is clear from some of the examples you've given. So we're going to go to a break. You've been listening to Intangify on talkradio.nyc, and we'll be back shortly.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Intangify on talkradio.nyc. I'm your host, Matthew Asdell. My guest is Tannia Ospina, a mompreneur, an attorney, and we're talking about Latinx entrepreneurship. Tannia herself is from an immigrant family, and one of the client groups that she serves and wants to serve involve Latinx businesses. And, one of the things we were talking about earlier was the market. Maybe we weren't so clear about it, but how it's a growing market, and it's known to be a growing market in the United States. And we also talked a little bit about how there aren't many, at least from immigrant families, you don't see very many who go into the field of law like yourself. the just the growing workforce of Latinx individuals, and and I think we were talking a little bit in preparation for today about about that Latinx workforce and maybe how that's leading into more entrepreneurship from the Latinx community. Would love to hear your thoughts on why you think that is.
So many reasons, but I feel like, obviously, I told you that I was recently so honored to go speak at my alma mater for graduating student leaders. And they were so impressive where I'm like, wow, they, whoever hires them or whoever did hire them, some already have jobs, of course, lined up, but then some were going to go to law school, medical school. And I'm like, wow, whoever hires them, they're going to do great there. But I do find that sometimes they don't feel supported in the corporate world, right? They don't find a lot of people like them. They don't find really just like, they don't find themselves being included, or they might find themselves the one out of, the 1% there that is diverse, that looks like them, that has had those experiences like them, and they leave. Because they say, okay, I'm helping continue to build this big business and supporting this business when I could do something like this on my own, or even, better or more. And I find that a lot. I find a lot of them leave the corporate world because of that, because they really don't feel valued. They feel, in a word, we spoke about the word tokened, right? They feel like a token. And I don't like using that word so much, but I really don't know a better word to use other than that. Or I would say really, they just don't feel included. And there's all these big efforts to start these inclusion committees and diversity committees and diversity leaders and inclusive leaders. And they hire one person, without a team. And they really almost always fail at their jobs because they give them this whole big project to do without a team, without a lot of buy-in from the company, right? Because the other employees there are like, why do we need to be inclusive? Why do we need to celebrate Hispanic heritage? And they don't quite get it. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but I've heard it happen, and from HR people themselves. I'm also part of a professional sorority organization, and a lot of my sisters alumni went into human resources, so I've heard of that because I know them personally, and they've had big jobs in the whole inclusive sector, right? And they haven't always done so well, or wanted to stay away from those jobs because they know how difficult those jobs are. So I think that's why, and I think it's going to change. I hope it'll change eventually, because obviously I feel like Latinx people are so valuable for the corporate world. I think it's always, you still, when you see them head up these CEO positions, there's still very few. I think it's 1% of CEOs are Latinos. It's very, very, very few, but I would like to see more of that. I would like to see more representation. And the only way is if they stay working in the corporate world, right? They don't become entrepreneurs. So I think it's going to change, because obviously there's more Latinos getting higher degrees. You could see that by, this is just a Rutgers commencement ceremony that I went to. So it's going to look different, and I'm excited for that. And I hope I could support that. And, some of the parents, so the parents from that commencement organization, they wanted to take pictures of me with their kid. And I'm like, I want to take a picture with your kid. Your kid's amazing. Some of these kids established these completely new organizations at Rutgers that weren't established before. And for example, the Peruvian organization, and there was never a Peruvian organization, and then they had a parade that had never happened at Rutgers before, and this is 2023. So it's very cool to see them do that. So I'm just excited to see what they're going to do, and I want to support that.
But I love, you're bursting in humility. It's so endearing. They've done, as I listen to you and all that you've done in your life. I mean, from the outside, it's very impressive, and you exude just being impressed by so many other people around you. I hope you'll internalize some of that and be a little bit more impressed with yourself. Like, you don't have to be like, egotistical or anything, but a little bit more impressed with being okay.
I mean, I'm super famous, guys, because Matthew told me that I'm super famous. Okay, I gotta start believing that. No, but I think that's why people like me too, because I am impressed by them. I do. I wanna be their cheerleader too, and I feel like a lot of people. We need more people like that, and I will pat myself on the back with that. People will always say, "Oh, you're a great cheerleader. You've always been my cheerleader. You come to support my events," and I think that's why I've also found it, like, not easy, but I find it really, I just find it very natural to be an IP because people see that in me too. And they trust me, right? They trust me almost instantly. They don't really think I'm going to, just take money from them. They know I had a call. You would probably say like, what? So you're never going to work for me. I was just like, okay, maybe, I don't think you should I don't think you should trademark right now, which I don't know if you've had that in your experience, but I was just like, I don't want to take your money. I don't think you should do this. Maybe in a year. But, I think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I sent away business. But at the end of the day, I'm like, no, I also want to be a good attorney, and someone that they could trust. And if I really felt like they shouldn't go ahead with their trademark, then I feel like that's okay. And I don't have to just be about making money and taking people's money. And I really want to just also be someone that people can trust and people will give them good advice. Right. So that's,
it's a little game, if someone's eventually going to realize if you just take their money and you do the thing that they think that they need that you don't think they need, sooner or later they're going to realize that and think badly about, the relationship with you and not going to trust you. Whereas if you turn them away at a time that they really shouldn't waste their money on something, that's a long-term relationship. You're basically equipping them to, when the time comes that they do need her, I know I can go to Tannia because she's not going to let me waste my money. She's going to, let use it on the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
So I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But let me take you back to our topic again, Latinx entrepreneurship. We talked a little bit about the market. We've talked a little bit about inclusion, workforce and retention, the workforce mapping initiative. Maybe that's what's driving entrepreneurship. But there, you've even alluded to aspects of mentorship, right? Like you're going and speaking to your alma mater, even though you were all impressed with everything they had done, right? That's the idea, right? Is to provide support and provide someone who looks and sounds like them, and as a model that, hey, you can do this too. So what do you feel is needed? What do you feel is needed to bolster Latinx entrepreneurship? Apart from people like you who put yourself out there and say, I'm here to help you. What can other people do to support Latinx entrepreneurship?
I think a part of it is actually, it's so funny that you say that because I just got an email from this Latina-based organization that is partnering up with Microsoft, and they're going to do like a Latina entrepreneurship playbook. And they were surveying Latinx entrepreneurs to see, I'm like, wow, Microsoft's interested in us, look, and I made sure I filled out that survey, right? Because I think big companies like Microsoft, like big law firms, need to invest in Latinx entrepreneurs because we're going to be like, hey, they invested in us. They believed in us. They know that, they value us. So, we're very loyal. I think Latinx people are very loyal in that aspect. So I think, and we also want to give value back, right? So we're like, hey, if this company believes in us, everyone you got to know this company believes in us. Go and support them. Go make sure you follow them. Go and, do your business there. And I think that's something big companies should know. In mentorship, when just focus on mentorship, I think really there should be more mentorship programs when it comes, not just so, I don't want to say Latinx space, but more of, not even just Latinx space, but just really any companies. Most companies should have a mentorship program at their companies. And not just, I know we want to help out the Latinx community, but I think everyone needs a mentor, but more so, people that are looking to grow. So it could be someone Latinx or not. I know we want to stick to Latinx, but I really do feel mentorship is kind of needed for everyone. Mompreneurs, even when I was telling my husband, I have a new mentor. He was like, I need a mentor too. So I think mentorship is just important for everyone in general.
I have a comment about mentorship. As someone who does a lot of mentoring, whether or not I qualified, but as someone who does a lot of mentoring, what I learn is I learn as much from the people who I mentor as I show them and teach them. Funny, before this call, you're teaching me stuff on Canva. I don't do that stuff. Sometimes, it's a relationship. And a guy who I mentored as a law student, ultimately was the one who helps my kids get into their kindergarten, which is hard to do in New York City.
Oh my God.
Mentorship is a two-way street. You're educating people maybe in an area that they're not familiar, but they often have a lot to educate you about in areas that you might not. So it's definitely worth doing. And if you don't have a mentor, getting one. If you aren't a mentor, being one. Probably those of us who are mentors should be mentees, and vice versa, right? Because there's something we all have to offer. We got to go to a break. So, we will, when we come back, we'll pick up on some of our Latinx topics. But you've been listening to Intangify on talkradio.nyc, and we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargeman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Intangify on talkradio.nyc. I'm your host, Matthew Asbell. My guest is Tannia Ospina. Tannia is a mompreneur. She used to work at NBC Universal, and then she launched her own business called Bell Threads at bellthreads.com. It's a platform for parents and looking for opportunities and events for their children. She grew that successfully and was driven by her relationships with many people to come back to law, but not in the same way she did originally, not criminal defense, not even employment law, that, areas that she had thought that she might want to do, but rather intellectual property law. She's reinvented herself in that sense as an IP attorney because she understands what businesses go through and can help relate to them. It help them in a way she helped herself. So, Tannia, welcome back. Wanted to really ask if you have a message you'd like to leave for, let's say, particularly, we'll ask you a couple different messages, but the message I'd first like to ask is, for the LatinX listeners here, particularly those who are considering becoming an entrepreneur or considering the practice of law, what message would you have for that?
For the Latinx, hopefully, entrepreneur, I would say, si se puede, which means yes, you can. Hazlo con ganas. Do it with grit, which means I think you will find it a very rewarding journey. It will be difficult, but it's definitely doable. Whether you have so many resources, you have people like me that want to see other Latinx entrepreneurs succeed. You have people that want to be your mentor, and they don't always look like you, but they want to support you. You have an interesting story. Make sure you share your story, and you'll find your communities, and you'll flourish and bloom in those communities. You just have to be willing to do the work, and the work is hard.
That's great. And then another message that you might have, maybe for the non-Latinx listeners of this program, people who are out there working in businesses, working in supporting businesses, or entrepreneurs themselves outside of the Latinx community. What message would you have for them?
I would say entrepreneurship is also similar messages, but really I want to make it more concise. Just say entrepreneurship is a really beautiful journey. I would say first thing, number one, is find a community to support you and guide you. Find these networking groups and really, meet people and put yourself out there. There's definitely people that you will share common interests with, and you could even collaborate with them. I feel like this is an easier route nowadays, collaborating with people and really building your platforms on collaborations. It's honestly, I feel like you will have a higher rate of success when you do that, but it's hard because people, you don't have the time, or you don't know what group to go to. I would just say any group. There's so many different, especially even on Facebook. I would say do that first, and that will really kind of save you a lot of time and mental energy and even money. When you meet people that are doing what you want to do already, it helps so much.
Great. Anything? Let's talk a little bit about what's the word we use? Ganas.
Ganas.
And can you say the sentence again that had it?
So it's hazlo con ganas.
Hazlo con ganas.
Hazlo con ganas. And I say this to my kids. My parents said that to me, and it's something that, my son plays baseball. He's on 2 baseball teams, and right before I'm like, hazlo con ganas. He's like, stop speaking to me in Spanish. And he's like, I'm like, no, hazlo con ganas. So it's like, go up there and hit the bat like you really want to hit the bat, and that's just like really do it like you really want to do it, like show enthusiasm. I think that is so relatable. And it's like some of these phrases in Spanish, you can't really find the perfect phrase in English, but that's why I love to say it in Spanish, because in a way, it's like, even hazlo con ganas. When you apply for a job, do it. If you really want that job, send them the thank you letter, send them a follow-up thank you letter, show your enthusiasm. I think it's going to serve you, even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, which a lot of people don't. I know some of those people, they're very happy in their jobs. Even though I would want them to be entrepreneurs, that's not for them. And I get it. And I am happy, because, like, for example, my husband, he loves his company, and I don't think I would never see him as an entrepreneur, but even him, like, whenever there's something big, and I always tell him, like, as long as you do something with ganas, as long as you do something showing enthusiasm, people are going to notice that, and that's really going to serve you well. So it's a beautiful saying in Spanish that I wish everyone that really cared about something got it, because it's like a feeling, right? Like, and I when my son say it to himself, like, like, I'm gonna really try to, hit a home run today. So yeah, because, and I teach my kids a lot about, like, positive affirmations and, like, saying things to yourself, to hype yourself up. So, it's one of those things, that if you do something with ganas, you're always going to have you might fail sometimes, but at least you're going to do it, and you gave it your all, and you were very enthusiastic about doing it. So you're not going to regret it, right? Because you're like, no, I really wanted to do that. And I may have not gotten the result I wanted, but I really wanted to do it, and at least I did it. So I feel like it's a very, like, empowering saying, like, I love that saying. It's my favorite. I want to wear a shirt that says, like, I do everything with ganas.
I really love that. I think that's a great way to wrap up our program today. That is a new phrase for me I'd never heard before, but is definitely one I subscribe to, and it's a use, like, be passionate about what you do, or go beyond the call of duty or things like that. But and I don't know if they're perfect translations, but at least they kind of get at, or do it with grit, as you said. But let's leave people for the weekend with that thought. Whatever you do it with grit. My guest has been Tannia Ospina of the Ospina Law Firm, which is theospinalawfirm.com, and the proprietor of Bell Threads at bellthreads.com. And my name is Matthew Asfeld. You've been listening to Intangify. Tune in on Fridays at noon p.m. Eastern Time for our episodes. Thanks so much. Pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Matthew.